Om Gam Ganapatte Namaha, Kaliyugada Kalpataru, the fifth delight, Shri Raghavendra Gurusarvabhauma, Chapter 56, Kakataliya Vakyartha. It was decided that the scholarly debate, that is Vidyat Sabha, would be held in the palace for 3 days under the presidency of Shri Sudhindra Tirtharu, starting from Margashira Bahula Bidige, having defeated Shama Dikshita in a debate and crushing all their hopes. Venkatanatha was specially honored by the king in the royal court, which caused great distress to the jealous scholars. Now they conspired to humiliate Venkatanatha in front of the king and thereby tarnish the reputation of Sri Sudhindra Tirtharu. As luck would have it, they found a powerful ally in Vibudhananda Bhattacharya, a learned scholar from North India. This renewed their enthusiasm. Raghunatha Bhupala had honored Vibudhananda with the title of Ashtana Pandita, that is Royal Court Scholar, recognizing him as an expert in literary sciences, that is Sahitya Shastra. Vibudhananda also held the prestigious title of Bhattacharya. This time, they devised a cunning plan to defeat Venkatanatha in Alankara Shastra, that is the science of rhetoric and poetics, and take revenge. The scholarly debate commenced under the presidency of Sri Sudhindra Tirtharu. The Royal Assembly Hall was filled with scholars, poets, musicians, and prominent citizens. Vibudhananda, along with his envious associates, ascended the stage and declared, "If there is any brave scholar here who dares to engage in a Vakyartha, that is a debate over interpretation of literary and philosophical statements with me in Alankara Shastra, let him come forward." Sri Sudhindra Tirtharu smiled subtly and glanced at Venkatanatha. Understanding his guru's intent, Venkatanatha stepped forward and took his seat on the stage. Vibudhananda then declared, "If I am defeated, I shall renounce my title of Bhattacharya." After establishing the rules of debate and appointing the mediators, the discussions began. Vibudhananda: "Acharya, your previous victories in the royal court were mere coincidences, that is Kakataliya, as there were no worthy scholars present at the time." Venkatanatha: "Your argument is baseless. It is an improper analogy, that is Vishama Drishtanta. Can you logically reconcile and prove that my past victories were coincidences, that is Kakataliya?" Vibudhananda mockingly: "Leave that aside. Do you ever know what Kakataliya, that is coincidences, mean?" Venkatanatha: "You who claim to be debating Alankara Shastra are unaware of its meaning?" Vibudhananda: Are you ever competent to debate in Alankara Shastra?" Venkatanatha: "No need for wordy rhetoric. Start the debate." Vibudhananda: "All right, tell me, where does the word Kakataliya originate from?" Venkatanatha: "It appears in the examples of Lupomalankara." Vibudhananda: "Fine, elaborate a bit." Venkatanatha: Lupomalankara is just a subcategory of Upamalankara. Fundamentally, Purna Palalankara is the most renowned among them. Granting its primacy is universally accepted by all scholars of Alankara Shastra. In the study of Alankara, figures of speech are analyzed through similes, that is Aupamya, that is logic, Nyaya, and textual references, that is Vachana. Why do we primarily introduce Upamalankara before others? Vibudhananda: "Acharya, just as Brahma Sutra holds the highest position in the Vedantic philosophy in relation to Sutrapada, and just as Sri Madhvacharya is accorded the foremost place in Acharyapada, similarly in Alankara Shastra, Upamalankara, which is fundamental to all rhetoric figures, is rightly introduced first under the term Alankara." Venkatanatha: "Just as gold, that is Jatarupa, inherently remains the same but transforms into different ornament like earrings, crowns, bangles, armlets, and ankles through the craftsmanship of a goldsmith. Similarly, the essence of upama remains singular. However, through variations in stylistic expressions, it manifests in different figures such as rupaka, that is metaphor, drishtanta, that is illustrative simile, deepaka, that is illuminative simile, and many others. Isn't that correct, Bhattacharya? Just as gold in different forms is still gold, upama in different expressive structures remain the foundation of all figures of speech. Vibudhananda, well, fine. You have given an interesting but improper analogy. Now listen to my question. In the phrase, Atapa iva deepo bhati, the lamp shines like the sun. Shouldn't this be classified under Purnopalankara? Venkatanatha, your example is invalid. A valid sadrisha, that is similarity, must possess Sahrudaya Ahlada, that is aesthetic delight for a cultured audience, and Chamatkara Janakata, an element of wonder or charm, correct? In your example, Atapa iva deepo bhati, neither Sahrudaya Alhadakatai nor Chamatkara is present. This makes it an improper analogy, Vishama Drishtanta. Furthermore, Alankara Shastra dictates that Upamana, the object of comparison, should have a broader contextual scope, while the Upamaya, the subject being compared, should be more specific. Your example violates the fundamental principle. Vibudhananda, frustrated, how so? Venkatanatha, laughing. Your given example can be applied Pratipalankara, but it does not belong to Purnopalankara. Vibudhananda, dejectedly. Yes, I slightly erred here. Let that be. Now tell me, why can't the phrase Sadyo Manditamat Hunachi Buka Praspadhi Narangakam be classified under Purnopalankara? Venkatanatha, smiling. Oh, are you referring to the viewpoint of Chitra Mimamsakara? Vibudhananda, laughing sarcastically. Indeed, the debate only becomes lively when one uses texts written by your guru, Vijendra Tirthuru's rival, Shri Appaya Dikshita. Venkatanatha, smirking. This is a case of Kavi Kalpito Lopankara, that is poetically imagined simile. It also lacks the characteristic of Chamatkara Janakata, an element of aesthetic delight. Moreover, it is not conventionally accepted in poetic traditions. Thus, this example is also incorrect. Vibudhananda, angrily, Then you provided example that is universally accepted. Let's see. Venkatanatha, certainly. When proving an example of Purnopalankara, it is appropriate to first explain its definition, the significance of its components, and their respective functions. Purnopalankara is defined as follows. Tatra ananya param samyam varnanam upama. A simile, upama, is the description of similarity between upamaya, the object being described, and upamana, the object of comparison, without being influenced by anything else. Now, if stating just Sadarsha Varnana, the depiction of similarity, were sufficient, why was the term Ananyapara included? The reason is to avoid overgeneralization, that is, Ativyapti, in Upamaya Upamana. Swayalankara, self-contained figure of speech, while Sadrisha Varnana, depiction of similarity, occurs there too. Ananyapara, is added to specify the upamana strictly denotes an exclusive similarity between two separate entities. In Upamalankara, there are two types, Purnopama and Luptopama, where all four essential components, Upamana, the standard of comparison, Upamaya, the subject being compared, Sadharana Dharma, that is common attribute, and Vachaka, the word indicating the comparison, are present. It is classified as Purnopama, where one, two, or three of these components are omitted. It is termed Luptomalankara. Furthermore, Purnopama itself is of two kinds, Shruti and Arthi. If explicitly comparative words such as Iva, like, Nama, called, or Sama, similar, are used, it is classified as Shruti. If the comparison is implied through the words like Tulya, that is equal to, or Sadrishya Vishishta Dharmi Vachaka, that is attributes that indicate similarity, then it falls under Arthi. These two types of Purnopama further manifest in three grammatical structures: Vakya, that is sentence, Samasa, that is compound words, and Taddita, that is derivative formations. Thus, Purnopalankara can be classified into 6 distinct forms. Vibudhananda, Acharya, that was an excellent explanation. Now, can you provide a specific example for each of these classifications? Venkatanatha, thank you for your kind appreciation. First, let me explain the 3 types of Purnopama in Shruti. Explicit comparison. Listen carefully. In Kalidasa's Raghuvamsha, it is stated that Yatha Prallada Nachandram Pratapano Yatha Tathaiva Sobdhanva Dhanvatro Raja Prakruti Ranjanath. Here, the common attribute, Sadharana Dharma, of meaning Anvratha Shabdha, applies to both Upamana, the standard of comparison such as the moon, and Upamaya, the subject being compared, that is the king. Because of this explicit comparative structure within a sentence, this qualifies as Purnopama at the Vakya, that is sentence level. Now, for the Samasa, compound word level, an example is Bhasvaniva Shri Raghunatha Netuhu. Here, Bhasvaniva forms a compound as per Panini's aphorism, Ivena Nitya Samaso Vibhaksha Lopascha. This is Nitya Samasa, that is permanent compound. For the Tadikta derivative formation level, an example is Dharani Ramana Saisya Karadushana Harinaha Chaturdashasu Lokeshu Rajate Ramavashaha. Here, the Vati suffix is used in the Aseva, meaning not belonging to sense, thus making it a Taddita Shruti Purnopama. Now, considering Arthi Purnopama in Bhuvanam Mudbhuta Vikrutamate Bhuja Dandoyam Mahabhagaha Sakala Daritri Dharani Sadrushaha Pratibhati Bhujanga Rajena. Alternative reading, Bhujangeshwara Sannibho Bhati. Since the word Sadrsha is explicitly used, this is Arthi Purnopama at the Vakya level. If we take the alternate reading, then this becomes Arthi Purnopama at the Samasa level as well. For Taddita Arthi Purnopama, Chakasti Kirti Bakopi Kopi Rakani Shaka Mukha Vatnasanna. Here, based on Panini's apomorism, Tena Tulai Kriya Chedatiha, the Vati suffix is applied in the Tulya equal sense, thereby classifying it under Taddhita Arthi Purnopama. Thus, I have explained the 6 types in detail. Are you satisfied now, Bhattacharya? Vibudhananda, forcing a smile, concealing his dissatisfaction. Well, it was quite satisfying, but I am not entirely content. Let us see, you can explain Lopomalankara as well. Venkatanatha, smiling gently, I understand your curiosity. Perhaps the phrase Sahitya Gandha Viduraha Madhvaha is lingering in your mind. That is, Madhva's lack literary fragrance. Vibudhananda, laughing superficially, nothing like that. It's just that we are eager to see the extent of your expertise in Alankara Shastra. Venkatanatha, I must not disappoint you. Must I? Very well, listen carefully. Lopomalankara is primarily categorized into 7 types. Dharmalupta, Vachanalupta, Upamanalupta, Dharma Vachakalupta, Dharmopa Vanupta, Vacho Pramayalupta, Dharma Pramana Lupta. Of this, Dharmalupta is initially divided into Shruti and Arthi. However, since Dharmalupta does not occur in Shruti and Tadikta, it ultimately reduces to 5 forms. I shall now present example of these types based on the composition of my revered Gurupada, that is Guru's work. Seeing this, Shri Sudhindra Tirtharu, Yajna Narayana Dikshita and Raghunatha Bhupala smiled in delight. The scholars, astonished and enthused, eagerly proceeded with the next phase of the debate. Venkatanatha, Vam Yataha Hima Ruchirnavaha Chandrikeva Hasa Prabha Kuvalayen Samecha Netraha Tassai Manohara Lata Shadushav Cha Bahuhu Vachasap Dhabhai Lahari Nikurumba Kalpaha. Here, the 5 comparative words Yataha as, Iva like, Sama equal to, Sadasya resembling and Kalpa akin to are applied successively, demonstrating 5 types of Dharma Lupta Upamalankara in unison. As for Vachakalupta, that is elision of comparative indicators, it occurs in 7 forms based on grammatical derivations. Namul, suffix in karma sense. Namul, suffix in kartra sense. Krach, suffix in karma sense. Krach, suffix in adhikara sense, adhikarana sense. Kru, suffix. Nin, suffix. Samasa, compound formation. Scholar, O Master, you are explaining so many details. Can you provide authoritative textual evidence for this? Venkatanatha, scholars, it seems that you have not examined Sarvabhauma Chintamani. There is no shortage of proof. Listen. Iva adi dharma lupta Divide Namulchi Chakruma Tatha Ninau Samasecha Sasha Prakritita. This establishes the different types of Dharmolupta Upamalankara. But that is not all. I shall also present the Padanese grammatical rules that support this. The namul suffix is authorized for both upamana, that is comparisons, and karma cases. As per the rule, upamane kramanicha krutakarma nurupamadayo, the kru suffix is validated in karma cases by the Vartika extension. Upamana dachare adhikarana chetyada vektavyam. The kra suffix is prescribed under the rule katruja salopascha. The nin suffix is established under karta rupamane, the omission of comparison words, that is vachakalopa, in compound formations is supported by upamanadi samanya vachanai. Here, the entire assembly erupted in thunderous applause, celebrating Venkatanatha's erudition. Continuing, Venkatanatha presented a single verse from his revered guru, Sahitya Samrajya, demonstrating all 7 types of Vachakalupta Upamana. Yam Parsha Deepadarsham Sahadi Manasijaha Keetanasham Sanashta Swante Yotaha Puriyam Nijabhava Nakrutastam Kumari Yati Drak Mula Stambhayate Yasti Bhuvana Bhavane Kokalala Pinisa Vamange Kalpavalli Shrayati Kuvalayashamala Tvam Bhajami. Venkatanatha, now Bhattacharya, let us see you align the 7 types of Vachakalupta Alankara in this verse. The audience erupted in excitement. Vibudhananda, stunned by Venkatanatha's unmatched intelligence and precise analysis, gazed upon in silence, unable to respond. A scholar in the assembly then remarked, Master, O Acharya, asking someone who cannot perform Ashtavadhana, that is 8-fold cognitive multitasking, to perform Shatavadhana, that is 100-fold cognitive multitasking, is unfair. We humbly request you to elucidate it yourself for our joy. Upon hearing this, Vibudhananda, shaking with anger and frustration, retorted, I have remained silent not due to incompetency, but out of magnanimity. Let the glory rest upon the Acharya as he is so enthusiastic. The assembly burst into laughter. Venkatanatha, it is my duty to fulfill the request of the esteemed audience. In the phrase Deepamiva Pashyam, seeing like a lamp, the term Deepadarsham employs the namul suffix in the karma sense. In Kita Iva Nashtaha, that is destroyed like an insect, the phrase Keetanasham Sanashtaha uses the namul suffix in the kartar sense. In Swante Antapuraha Iva Acharati, that is acting like an inner chamber in the heart, Anthar Purayati employs the krich suffix in the adhikarana sense. Similarly, in Kumara Skandham Iva Acharati, acting like the shoulder of a prince, the phrase Kumariyati applies the krich suffix in the karma sense. In Tribhuvana Bhavane Mulastamba Iva Acharati, acting like the foundation pillar of the 3 worlds, the Mulastambhayate phrase, based on Saptamadhikarane, takes the krub suffix in the adhikarana sense. Likewise, in the Kokila Iva Alapati, speaking like a cuckoo, Kokilala Pini takes the Nini suffix. In Kuvalaya Iva Shamala, dark like a blue lotus, Kamalaya Shamala is a compound. Thus the 7 types of Vachakaluptalankara elegantly shines in this verse. Filled with supreme joy, the king, the scholars clapped and nodded in approval, encouraged Venkatanatha to continue. Venkatanatha, not just that, Upamana Lupta is also of 2 types, occurring in sentences and compounds. For example, Dayadi Gunasampanna Vitarane Rane Tatrapi Dharnipala Tava Tullo na Vidyate. Alternative reading: Tatmano na Drishyate. Here, in the first phrase, Lupamalankara appears in the Vakya, that is sentence form. In the second reading, Tattamano na Drishyate, Upamana Lupta occurs in the Samasa compound. Similarly, Dharmavachakalishte has 2 types, clip suffix and Samasa. This is stated in Dharma Upamanayo Lope Vyakyaga cha Samasaga. It occurs in both sentences and compounds. Dharmapanulupta also has 2 types as per the rule. Iva derupamai yasse dvayoha lopaha bhavetpachit. If both upamaya and upamana are omitted, it is classified accordingly. Vachakopamaya lupta is a single category. The 3 major omission, Vachaka, Dharma and Upamana, occurs across sentences and compound structures, making them threefold yet essentially a single category. An example illustrating all 6 types is Vrutha Mama Bhumataho Maheshware Manasthite Shrutosti Tena Kim Samaha Shrutotavaste Tattamaha. Here, Kim Samaha represents omission in the Vakya, that is sentence. Tattamaha represents omission in the Samasa, that is compound. Another example, Shad Ampriya Dassaha Sada Tadam Pripanchakaja Dvaye Chakora Kiyasu Sthite Tadanane Shashiprabhe. In the second line, omission of Dharmopamana appears in both Vakya and Samasa. In the third line, Krip based Dharmavachaka Lopeya is observed in 2 ways. In Chakora Kesu, Vachakalopameya Lupta is evident. In Shashiprabhe, Dharmopamana Lupta is evident. The Nini suffix, its grammatical variations and its appearance in different contexts have been demonstrated by Kavya Prakashika. Additionally, the Sarvabhaumana Chintamani has also illustrated Vachaka Luptayu in the Nini suffix. Now, Bhattacharya, I have presented numerous examples of Lupamalankara, yet nowhere in this is there a trace of Kakataliya principle that you have earlier invoked. So tell me, how can you still compare my past encounter and victory to mere Kakataliya, that is, coincidence? Vibudhananda had no answer. Unable to counter, his face turned grim with frustration. Finally, he blurted out, Vibudhananda, Acharya, I declare that all your arguments so far are incorrect. Venkatanatha smilingly retorted. Venkatanatha, Bhattacharya, if my arguments are incorrect, then kindly refute them with solid evidence. Vibudhananda, proudly, oh, is that so? Fine, listen. All the classifications of Lopamalankara you have presented, whether sevenfold, fivefold, or otherwise, I do not accept them. Why? Because they are not validly accepted classifications. Even Alankarika, that is Rhetorician, do not acknowledge such distinctions. While these divisions may create a certain degree of aesthetic novelty, that is, Chamatkara Vishesha, they are ultimately incorrect. This excessive classification is nothing more than an exhibition of grammatical scholarship, that is Shabda Shastra, intended only to demonstrate personal erudition rather than to present logically accepted variations. Your analysis proves your mastery over grammar, but it fails to establish distinctions that are valid in Alankara Shastra, does it not? Venkatanatha, smilingly, Bhattacharya, I am grateful that you have so joyfully praised my expertise in Shabda Shastra. Since you have accused me of misrepresenting accepted rhetorical distinctions, why don't you explain the Sambhavita Prakara, that is, logically valid classification that are accepted by Alankarika? I shall listen and enjoy. Vibudhananda, you first claimed that Lopamalankara has 7 varieties. That is incorrect. Beyond the omission of Vachaka, that is comparative word, and Upamana, that is standard of comparison, there are other omissions possible. Here is an example. Yattaya melanam tatra lobho meyascha tadratheya tadetat Kakataliyam Avitakrita Sambhavam. This example illustrates the valid rhetorical distinction accepted by Alankarika. How so? Here the word kaka, that is crow, and tala, that is palm tree, are synthetically linked, that is vritti vishaya, forming an inherent conceptual association, that is Kakatala Samaveta Kriya. According to Panini's rule, Ivartha Samasascha Tadvipshayat. This lead to the compound formation Kakatala, derived from Kakagamana Bima, Talapata Bima, Kakatalu, meaning just as crow's arrival coincided with the fall of a palm fruit. Thus, when the speaker describes his accidental union with a secluded beauty as similar to Kakatala Samagama, a coincidental event, it results in a legitimate rhetorical expression. Further, Kakataliyam follows the second Paninian principles. Ivartha Samasascha Tadvishayat Tat, which justifies the cha suffix. Finally, just as the crow unintentionally benefits from the palm fruit falling, the speaker similarly takes advantage of the lady's isolation. This construction results in Upamanalopa, that is, elision of the standard of comparison, because Kakatala Samagama is implied rather than explicitly stated. Vachakalopa, that is, elision of the comparative world, because it is established through compounding rather than direct comparison. The combined effects leads to Vachaka Upamanalupta Alankara, a valid and recognized rhetorical structure. Vibudhananda, proudly, Acharya, you claim that Dharmalupta has only 5 types is incorrect. Why? Because we find examples of Dibharva, that is duplication, in expressions like patu, Devadattaha. Here, according to the rule, prakare gunavachanasya dvibharva sadrishya. Dvibharva expresses sadrishya, similarity, meaning Devadatta is like one who is skilled, patu. This implies that Devadatta is not inherently skilled, but indistinguishable from one who is. Since the term patuhu is used twice, it reinforces the idea of dvibharva, gunavachana, forming a compound structure that is samasa. Thus, this does not support a five-fold classification of luptomama. Similarly, dharmalupta cannot be limited to just sentence, vakya, and compound samasa structures. The rule karmadhara yuvadatte reshu established the formation of samasa vadbhava. This results in aikapada, single word structure, rather than a sentence-based one. Since this excludes the sentence structures, your classification of samasa and vakya becomes invalid. Moreover, you claim that vachakalupta has 7 types is also unacceptable. Why? Because vachakalupta appears in quip, suffix, formations, and taddita, secondary derivatives. Consider the following example. Yudbhaktanam sukhamaya samsaropa parvagati tam shambhu bhajan martaha chancha chandrakala dharam. Here in apavargavat acharati, the krip suffix is omitted with a compound demonstrating vachanalopa. In chamcha, meaning like trembling grass, the tan suffix, tan pratyay, is omitted. As per the rule, ive pratikriti, comparison through analogy. Thus, in 2 instances, both the krip suffix and the tan suffix, that is vachakalopa, is shastra vihita, that is grammatically sanctioned. Furthermore, you claim that upamanushe exists only in vakya and samasa is incorrect because it does not occur in tadita. For example, nonam yam seva mananam samsa rupa parvagati tam shambhuma bhajam mrutraha chamcha chandra kaladharam. Here chamcha trun purushaha kanu undergoes illusion karnoluk, resulting in vakyalopa. Since clip is omitted in tadikta, upamanusha does not extend beyond vakya and samasa. Additionally, you claim dharmopamanalupta is only 2 types. Vakya and samasa is incorrect. Dharmopanalupta also occurs in tadikta. For example, tade tatka liyamayam. Here the suffix pratyayatho payamam is applied. In avitakrita sambhavam, since the comparative word dharmopamana is omitted, both elements undergo elision. Thus, because lopomalankara has multiple contestable variations, your classifications neither aligned with Alankara Shastra nor do they generate chamatkara, that is aesthetic delight. Venkatanatha, Swami, I am quite astonished after hearing your argument. It appears that you have interpreted my explanations through the lens of Kakataliya Vakyartha. All I have done is present the classification as expounded by the great Alankarika without offering any opposition to them. This fact is evident to everyone in the assembly. From the gathering of scholars, shouts of approval, yes, yes, echoed in argument. Let that be. At least pay attention to my next explanation with open mind. Perhaps it will resolve your doubt. Vibudhananda, mockingly but with concealed frustration, no Swami, nowhere have you stated the Lupomalankara has 8 types. You simply evaded it. And that evasion gave rise to my doubts. Venkatanatha smiling, oh, so it is my fault that while I was methodologically explaining the general and specific divisions as illustrated by ancient Alankarika, you hastily dismissed them without due consideration. If you persist in opposing the views of the Purvachara, won't you end up contradicting your own stance? This would not only result in self-contradiction, that is, swavirodha, but also leads to swavachaka virodha, that is, contradiction within one's own statements, contradiction within foundation principles, sakriya virodha, that is, contradiction in logical application. Thus, these 3 defects, that is, dosha, become inevitable in your argument. At this, Dikshita, the king, and the gathered scholars enthusiastically applauded, exclaiming, yes, yes, in praise of Venkatanatha. The entire assembly burst into waves of laughter. Vibudhananda, thoroughly embarrassed, turned pale. He realized his mistake. Yet, suppressing his inner turmoil and attempting to maintain composure, he feigned nonchalance and said, Fine, let's hear what you have to say next. Venkatanatha, for instance, saying, Mukoham, I am mute, results in Swavachana Virodha, that is self-contradiction. Similarly, stating, Me Matha Vandyaha, my mother is barren, creates Sankriya Virodha, that is contradiction in logical action. Thus, like this, Vibudhananda interrupting before Venkatanatha can complete his statement, enough, Swami, I understand everything now. What do you wish to say next? Venkatanatha laughing, good. If you have understood that is well and good. Now let me present an explanation from a highly respected scholar, one who belonged to your very own philosophical tradition and is extraordinary expert in Alankara Shastra. In his works, Alankara Nikasa, this esteemed scholar, making none other than Srimat Sudhindra Tirtharu his central figure, composed a detailed analysis of Lupomalankara. I shall now narrate the explanation. Vibudhananda, surprised, what? A scholar from our tradition wrote a treatise on Alankara Shastra using your guru as a central figure? Can you share a couple of examples? I would like to hear them. Venkatanatha, when are you so astonished, Bhattacharya? Does learning belong to a single sect? Genuine scholars, regardless of the background, recognize excellence and honor it. Isn't it natural to venerate those who possess merit, eligibility, and universal acclaim? For instance, look at Raghunatha Bhopala. He was exalted as a patron in Raghunatha Bhopalyam, a renowned Alankara treatise composed by the illustrious poet Krishna Yajya. The work gained such stature that even great scholars and the Mahaprabhus themselves requested my revered Guru, Shri Sudhindra Tirtharu, to compose a commentary on it. Did our revered Guru hesitate, thinking, this work was composed by a Grahastha, that is householder, and I am a Paramahamsa, that is ascetic, so I must not write a commentary on it? No, with his vast heart and boundless wisdom, he composed Sahitya Samrajyam, a world-renowned, profound and extensive commentary blessing the text with his scholarship. Similarly, our own traditional scholars, recognizing the greatness of a Gurupada, chose to make him the central figure in Alankara Nikasa. So, what is surprising in that? Hearing Venkatanatha's words, the entire assembly erupted in applause, appreciating his wisdom. Venkatanatha, now, as per your request, I shall provide an example of Alankara Nikasa. Listen carefully. Mat Sudhindra Vrati Sarvabhauma Gambhirya Mada Arya Mu Guna Vap Tulayana Trimu Vishtapeshu Nishamatte Kokipi Nishyamateva. This verse, Venkatanatha, your depth, generosity, and supreme virtues are unparalleled in the three worlds. No one has heard of nor seen who is your equal. This words, the word Tulyaha indicates a general comparison, Samanya Upamana. However, a special point of comparison, Upamana Vishesha, is absent because only Kopi, someone, is mentioned without naming any specific entity. So, there is no explicit stated Upamana, standard of comparison. Upamana Rupta occurs at the Vakya, that is sentence level. If we take an alternative reading, the Tadanti forms a compound structure where Upamana Rupta occurs at the Samasa, that is compound level. This example strongly aligns with the Avantara Vibhaga, that is subclassification, that I explained later. Vibudhananda, impressed, well said, that was quite interesting. Now provide another example. Venkatanatha, listen careful, Swami. O Sri Sudhindra Varatilaka, in the caves of Mount Kailasha, celestial beings with horses-like face, the Gandharva couple, sing your divine radiant fame. The yogis attentively listen to this celestial song. As his highly skilled Gandharvas sing in praise, they tremble in excitement. Their hearts overflow with fresh, unbounded bliss. Their eyes well up with tears. They cast sidelong glances full of emotion. They experience goosebumps like a veil covered their bodies, and their skin glistens with sacred sweat. The yogis are deeply absorbed, immersed in the bliss of this divine melody. Here we see Dharmavachaka Upalankara. How? In Hayamukha, the phrase is derived from Hayasa Mukham, Iva Mukham Yasyaha, one whose face is like that of a horse. However, in this structure, according to Saptamyu Pamana Purvasya Uttara Padalopascha, that is grammatical rule, the comparative indicators mukha is omitted, since the dharmavachaka, that is common attribute, is implied rather than explicitly stated. Dharmavachaka lupta occurs. Since the phrase is expressed in samasa, that is compound, the upamana, comparison standard, dharmavachaka, that is common attribute, and vachaka, that is comparative marker, are all omitted. Thus, this verse simultaneously demonstrated the lupta, omission of three elements. Upamana lupta, omission of the standard of comparison. Dharmavachaka lupta, omission of the descriptive attribute. Vachaka lupta, omission of the comparative marker. Bhattacharya, according to Sahitya Chintamani, the scholars holds the Vachaka lupta does not merely occur in namul and similar affixes, but is also present in the nini suffix. Thus, instead of sevenfold, Vachaka lupta can extend to 20 varieties. Though such an extensive classification is not traditionally accepted with the Luptoma Alankara. For instance, the previous sloka states, Ninikato Vachakaloptascha Valya Vaishakheti. This in the example Nagendra Gamani. One must analyze how Vachakalopta is illustrated according to Chintamani's viewpoint. Venkatanatha smiling, very well, listen carefully. Here is a perfect example that integrates Upamana Lupta, Dharmopamana Lupta, Vakya, Tadikta and Samasa all within a single verse. The coming together of enemies and his sudden demise, this all happens unexpectedly. Indeed, it was pure coincidental, just like the proverbial Kakataliya event. Upamana Lupta, omission of the standards of comparison. The phrase Akasmad Asikbhata Kakataliyam implies a comparison to an accidental event but does not explicitly mention a reference point, that is Upamana, making this Upamana Lupta. Dharmopamana Lupta, omission of the common attributes along with the standard of comparison. The comparison to an unexpected event is incomplete because neither a standard Upamana nor its defining characteristic, that is Dharma, is explicitly stated. This creates Dharmopamana Lupta. Vakya, that is sentence-based structure. The entire sentence structure expresses Lupoma Manalankara by omitting the Upamana and Dharma while still indicating an implicit comparison. Samasa, that is compound structure. This entire sentence structure expresses Lupomalankara by omitting the Upamana and Dharma while still indicating an implicit comparison. Samasa, that is compound structure, in the rephrases as Kakataliya Upanatha Vrittam, an event that occurred like the Kakataliya instance. The omission of comparison words in the compound structure confirms Samasangata Luptomama Tadikta, that is derivative suffix structure. The word Kakataliya itself is derived from Kaka, that is crow, and Tala, that is palm fruit, using Tadikta suffixes creating Tadiktagata Luptomama. Having heard this brilliant integration, the entire assembly of scholars erupted in applause. Vibudhananda, overwhelmed, rose from his seat and bowed respectfully. Vibudhananda, Acharya, I am fully satisfied now. Your ability to provide an example that encapsulates all these intricate classifications proves beyond doubt that you are truly an unparalleled scholar of Alankara Shastra. I humbly accept my defeat. With that, Vibudhananda acknowledged Venkatanatha's supreme erudition, and the debate concluded with the royal court resounding in admiration and celebration. Venkatanatha, with just one word, Kakataliyam, have integrated all three elements of omission. Explanation: the word Kaka, that is crow, and Tala, that is palm tree, form a conceptual link where the phrase Kakataliya Kriya, coincidental action, is derived. According to a grammatical principle, a samasa compound is formed between the two words. The implied meaning of the compound is just as a crow's arrival coincided with a falling palm fruit. This analogy extends to Devadatta's unexpected encounter with thieves, just like the coincidence of a crow and a falling palm fruit. The second step of compounding follows the grammatical rule, which justifies the cha suffix. The parallel between Devadatta's murder by thieves and a crow's accidental death by a falling palm fruit completes the comparison. Thus, I have successfully harmonized all three types of omission in single expression. Swami Vibudhananda, at the start of this debate, you objected that my past victory over the royal scholar were mere Kakataliya, that is coincidence. Twice I asked you to logically prove this claim, yet you failed to do so. Now tell me, what do you have to say on this matter? Forgive me, Acharya. It is true that I've initially dismissed your victories as mere coincidence. However, witnessing a profound scholarship Your precise argumentative styles, your unparalleled analytical brilliance, and your extraordinary depth in Alankara Shastra I stand in awe. I now realize that my earlier judgment was incorrect. I joyfully retract my statement. Meeting a great scholar like you is my fortune. Now I understand why the revered Yajna Narayana Dikshita holds you in such high esteem. I earnestly request you to accept me as a part of your esteemed scholarly circle and to extend your affectionate regard towards me. As Vibudhananda Bhattacharya humbly bowed in acknowledgement, the entire assembly erupted in thunderous applause, celebrating Venkatanatha's intellectual trump and Vibudhananda's gracious acceptance of truths. Hari Om. Om Sri Krishnarpanamastu.